Everybody, we're back here in Mining Stock Daily with a corporate update from Ridgeline Minerals. They trade on the TSX Venture with RDG and also on the OTCQB with RDGMF. They are a sponsor of the podcast, and I'm also a shareholder. Joining me today is Chad Peters. Chad, I just literally last week got home from my site visit with you, and thank you so much for your hospitality and driving us around, giving us the Grand North Nevada tour via the highway there and off roads, I might say. But it was a pleasure to have you back on the show, nonetheless.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We got a couple things to kind of catch up on. We can break it down into news out of Swift as of recently, news out of Salina, and then just also an update from what's happening at the drilling at Carlin East. But let's start with Swift, because that was the news of the day. You are increasing that already substantial land package there at Swift. Give us a rundown of why you're picking up these claims and really what you see here that allowed you to really be pertinent with this.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of going all in on Swift at this point. With we added a 50% increase, or 312 claims to the property. So we're now at 75 square kilometers, which is, I would say, probably one of the largest land packages held by a junior in Nevada at this point. Just that project alone in a contiguous claim block. So big chunk of ground. And the reason we did that was we drilled the Wenban formation in 2020. So we didn't hit any huge intercepts, unfortunately, with our first two holes. The third one was lost last year. We did hit sporadic gold and silver grades, but what was really important about that drill program is it confirmed that the Wenban formation exists on the project. That is the primary ore host for all of the mines on the Cortez districts, for over 50 million ounces of past reserves and current production. And that's what really got us excited. Barrick had written that project off 10 years ago, said it wasn't prospective. We came in, reinterpreted the geology, and discovered that the Wenban actually did exist. Fully intact. And so what we did here is the last kind of 6 months, we've been rebuilding our geologic model based on that. We've kind of been quietly just working at it while we've been advancing our other assets. And we realized pretty quickly that, to fully kind of capture the potential of the project, we need to stake these claims, which were on trend of our two primary targets. We got the Mill Creek and the Goat Anticline targets. Both are, 6 to 7 kilometer long structural breaks in the project that show significant soils anomalies, with Mill Creek actually having a historic intercept of 18 meters of 0.7 grams gold that never got followed up on. So these projects, we actually staked on both sides of these targets, and I think we've extended them from, originally they were both about 4 to 5 kilometers long. Now we control close to 6 to 7 on both sides. So it's a pretty good chunk of ground.
That Wenban formation, I mean, it is really important here because you're not the first people to be on this property. Elder Creek, there is kind of a historic pit there, but they were mining some of the lower grade stuff and really bad host rock, and just kind of left it there. You showed me that pit, which is pretty fascinating. But this Wenban formation, you mentioned it, is where a lot of the big boys are mining currently along the Cortez Trend. What was it about this? How did you come to, I guess, discover this Wenban formation, and did that catch you by surprise?
Well, it did catch us by surprise. You always hope that you're gonna, you kind of test an idea and it's gonna work out. But usually in geology it doesn't. In this case, Mike and I, my VPX, when we acquired this, we acquired the old historic core from the 1990s back in late 2019, and we looked at the mineralized intercept, and we weren't experts in the Cortez area, still aren't, but we're working on it. But, we said, man, that doesn't look like Roberts Mountain Formation to us, but it's so altered, you really couldn't tell. There was, there's the whole interval of the Wenban is essentially altered, right? So 18 meters of that interval actually ran, 0.7 grams per ton, but the whole interval is totally messed up and sheared. And so we thought that maybe there was potential for Wenban. The gravity anomaly in our gravity geophysics suggests this upthrown block that's roughly 3-4 kilometers wide of carbonates that had never been drill tested. So we just plunked a couple holes down on that to see if we could hit shallower carbonates. We figured we'd probably hit the Roberts Mountain, and instead we hit the Wenban. So it was a really great development for the project.
Well, that was in Mill Creek, and that actual kind of trend, it goes straight towards into the old Greystone mine. What are you seeing? Can you tell anything from Greystone, which kind of points out to being optimistic here at Mill Creek?
Yeah, we've been aware of the Greystone mine, obviously since we first picked it up. But once we kind of started understanding the structural like the main structural fabric, which is this northwest trending normal fault system. The same fault that essentially mineralizes at surface all these surface anomalies in the Mill Creek area. Well, that cuts right down through Greystone. Greystone is a barite mine; it's not a gold mine. But if you look across the all of Nevada at some of the largest gold Carlin type gold mines across the state, almost all of them have a spatial association with barite mines at surface. Those barite mines are a sign of huge fluid flow along the major structures. So usually you see the barite along the ore controlling structures. Usually those barite mines, that'll just be kind of the exhalative, not related to the gold system, but it's just fluid flowing up those big faults over time. So it's kind of an indicator of a major fault structure, in our opinion. And it cuts right up through Mill Creek. So that's why we wanted to stake down all the way through to Greystone. We kind of onion skinned them a little bit as well. So we're pretty excited to go out and do some field work this fall and hopefully get some drill holes on it early next year.
All right, so maybe some target generation type work happening this fall, drill next year. Let's go over to the Salina project. This was our first stop on the tour last week, Chad. I mean, you really get a sense of how silver mineralization really increases the lower elevation you come off of that hill. It's really interesting, but this too, you also went in, acquired more land in Salina. I mean, this is really a district scale opportunity now.
Yeah, no, and it is, and I mean, we've Mike and I both, we just really believe in that if you make a discovery, you really don't know how it's going to develop, right? Like in our case at Salina, it started as a gold play, then it transitioned to silver as we began to understand it more, and now we're realizing that there's silver, lead, zinc kind of CRD discovery potential out to the west towards where we stake. So I think in the early days, in the long run, it's quite cheap to acquire ground early, because it sure gets expensive quick if you don't do it and then you drill a great hole at the edge of your property boundary, right? So we're trying to be proactive. We believe that project has a ton of exploration potential, and that ground we picked up, I think, plays into that strategy.
We do have some drill results still pending. Do you have any idea when we might receive some more results from Salina here?
Yeah, I'd really hope to have results out, as early as this week previously, but the labs are busy and stuff. So I think we're hoping in the next week to 2 weeks we'll have all of the remaining results out for Salina.
Okay, and then but any other work on Salina taking place following this drill program?
Yeah, so once we get done with Carlin East, we're going to hit both Swift and Salina quite hard with field work. So now that we had never looked at Salina as potentially a zoned porphyry system, which we now strongly believe it is. So we need to go back out and we need to take another fresh look at this with field work, mapping, doing a bunch more soils, and tying that all together with an IP survey that we're currently reprocessing. So I think to have a really effective program next spring and test some of those new claims that we just staked, we need to get our kind of head wrapped around the more larger porphyry zonation model. So that'll be a big focus this fall.
All right. Let's head over to Carlin East. This really is kind of the discovery optionality that you're working towards. You're putting 3 big holes over there. When we were on the mountain there, you literally could look down onto Gold Strike, and those big haul trucks looked like ants running around. But just a couple kilometers to the south, you could see Leeville's drills coming and heading your way. So this really is... this is a play, you and I have talked about it before, that you were not planning on being active on this property this year, but once you saw those drill results coming from Leeville, you said, well, maybe this is our opportunity. The drills were going on last week when we were on the ground. It sounds like the crew is taking a break for the 4th of July. So where are we now within this drill process?
Yeah, the market's so crazy right now in Nevada that you can't even get drillers to spell off guys and keep rigs running 24/7. So our crew went on break for the 4th, and they've been off. They're taking their 10-day break, and then we'll be back at it. So we're at 2,200 feet right now, still in upper plate rock. So roughly, I don't know what's that. Sorry, I got to convert here. Roughly 600 meters, somewhere in that range, 650. We're waiting for them to come back. Pretty excited. We just finished all of our pre-collars. So we have all the pre-collars, the RC pre-collars ready. We drilled those super cheap with our drill contract. We'll be coming in and we'll just be pretty much walking our way back towards the southern boundary of our project, actually towards that drill rig that you saw on this side of the hill that was only 2 kilometers away. So in the time since Barrick put out their Q1 results for 2021, what we've seen of their movement on the hillside, they've moved roughly 1.5 kilometers closer to Carlin East during that time. So like you said, I mean, we weren't necessarily going to drill that project at the start of this year, but with the success they're having, it makes a ton of sense, and we're really excited to hopefully get a good lower plate intercept and hopefully prove it's altered as well.
How deep is this target, do you think?
I think we're going to get into the target rock probably somewhere in that 800 to 900 meter range. That'd be consistent with what they're drilling over at the North Leeville discovery. The gravity signature is very similar all the way across, so I think anywhere between 800 to 900 would be our hope, and it could be as deep as 1,000. But you look at like 4 Mile, for example, the top of that deposit is 1,000 meters. The bottom of it is closer to 1,500. So there's lots of room to work up there, and we're really close to existing infrastructure, underground mining already. So I think a discovery at those depths could still be very, very exciting for a group like Nevada Gold Mines.
People would say, you're going 3 holes and you're going really deep, so obviously it's pretty dang expensive, but that's a pretty conservative way of going after this. I mean, you've got about $5 million in the bank. However, you don't want to go and blow all that just drilling East Carlin when you got Salina and Swift, also in the works here. So, after this, and you take a look, if you do make a discovery, on Carlin East, would you go back and put some more holes in there, or is that really just kind of the breadwinner for this year?
If we drill a discovery at Carlin East, that rig's not leaving till I get forced off the hill by the snowstorms in December. So we would keep going as long as we possibly could. We have the cash in the bank to do so. We can drill wedges and directional drill holes off of those existing, those 3 original holes. We can probably get comfortably 4 to 5 holes off each one of those, just wedging off and directional drilling off of those. And that cuts our costs considerably, right? If we can avoid drilling, if we can wedge off the hole at, let's say, 400 to 500 meters depth, and then continue that a new fresh hole down to 1,000 meters, we just saved 500 meters times $200 a meter, give or take, right? So $100,000.
The other question I thought I might ask you, just because I've heard this from other people I've had discussions with, is, and I hope you can answer this. If there is a discovery made, why would Nevada Gold Mines be interested in this project when they've got a bunch of land just immediately to your south that they're drilling off?
Sure. Well, I think Nevada Gold Mines definitely, you look at Bristow, they've made Nevada their center point for the growth of the company, essentially, like for new discoveries. So I think the proximity to the Gold Strike roaster is probably the very first thing I'd point out, is that most of the discoveries being made in Nevada that are deep nowadays are refractory. And the biggest, I think, hill to get over is, can you get that ore to a mill in a reasonable trucking distance? We're only 2.5 kilometers away. So the cost, having the infrastructure right there, you have the North Leeville discovery, which I'm certain in the next 5 to 7 years will begin underground development as well to the north. So, there's a lot of synergies for Nevada Gold Mines. They can use existing infrastructure, both underground and at surface, to advance any discovery that we make. So you could say that our the value per ounce in the ground for a discovery at Carlin East would be incredibly high compared to a project, let's say, over at Jarrett Canyon or somewhere out in the middle by, the Pequops, because you got to find a way to roast that material, right? Although Jarrett Canyon does have a roaster, so that's not a great comparison.
But does Nevada Gold Mine need something like Carlin East to feed that roaster when they are continue to explore, up from Leeville?
Yeah, my understanding pre-merger with between the Barrick and Newmont, there was the Gold Strike mill was going to be hitting a tonnage crunch in 2025. So I'm sure that merger helped to kind of offset some of that. But at the end of the day, that mill is running, I think, somewhere in the 20 to 30,000 tons a day range, and it runs most efficiently when it's running 20 to 30,000 tons a day. So they want to keep that mill full. They aren't making enough new discoveries to offset the production that they're doing. They're mining more than they're finding every year. So a new discovery close to that would help offset that tonnage as well in the roaster.
Chad, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and thanks again for the time on the ground there last week. It was a real pleasure to get to know you and Mike and really see the sites. Actually, it was really fun. It was really fun and very informative.
That was a good time. That was the first tour I'd done in. Yeah, no, I mean, that was the first tour I'd done in almost a year. I think almost 2 years. So it was a long time coming, but I'm glad you guys were able to make it out.
All right. That's Chad Peters from Ridgeline Minerals. Again, they trade on the TSX Venture with RDG and also on the OTCQB with RDGMF. The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.